Hey, everybody, this is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. This is the podcast for middle managers who want to develop themselves, develop their teams, and improve their results. I got to talk to the author of the book, Chase Greatness, and you can tell that is what he is doing. The president and CEO at 1105 Media, Rajeev Kapur, joined me today, and Rajeev talked so much about workplace culture and how you build it, what his is like, how he's intentional when it comes to building that great workplace culture. But he also talked about how you can measure it and how you know that you've got one that is dead on, that's conducive for your employees as well as your customers. He also talked about the future of leadership and what skills leaders need to have going forward. You don't want to miss a second. Let's get at it.
This episode is brought to you by Kitcaster. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. Kitcaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny. Welcome back to another edition of the Leading from the Middle podcast. I can't wait for you to hear what this terrific leader has to say to you today. He's going to have some great advice. He's going to talk a little bit about this book that he has out and a bunch of other things like workplace culture and a lot of things for you leaders out there. So let me get right to him. He is the author of Chase Greatness. He's the president and CEO at 1105 Media. Rajeev Kapur has joined me today. Rajeev, it is so great to have you. How you doing there, sir?
Fantastic, Kenny. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. The honor is definitely mine. I got to get your backstory. You won also a lot of awards for leadership. You also do some great videos and podcasting. How did you get started? What's some of your backstory that led you to the point where you're at now in your career?
Well, it's a good question, I guess. So listen, there's that old saying that, well, one of the things I learned early on in my career and when I was first starting out is I had to go to the job wasn't going to come to me.
Yes.
And I think a lot of young people today are expect, like, I know I talk to my sons and they're we all want that perfect situation, and sometimes that perfect situation isn't there, and sometimes you got to go find that perfect situation for yourself no matter where it is. And for me, and again, I'm a lot older and things are different now because there's social media and other things. For me, I went to the job, and I actually, born and raised in Southern California, I went to a job in South Dakota.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was for an old computer company that no longer exists called Gateway.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there and we did a lot of great things there. And within a few months of being there, I was promoted to be the VP of international sales and all these things. And so I went over to the Middle East to help them out. And then a couple of years after being there, I didn't want to live there anymore, but I had a couple of years experience underneath my belt.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really helpful. Then that allowed me to pick and choose where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I took those 2 years as a learning opportunity, as an experience, as maybe a little bit of a personal sacrifice to go and say, where do I want to go ultimately? And I got recruited to go join Dell Computer. And I moved to Austin. It was fantastic. And I was in Austin in and out of Austin and internationally for Dell for about 12 years. I was one of Michael Dell's first executive assistants back in the early 90s. And I grew within Dell and managed teams all over the world for Dell in China and Hong Kong and Asia and Singapore and India and all these places. And so it was a fantastic, amazing experience. And then from there became president of an e-commerce company here in Southern California, which allowed me to do that. And so again, a lot of great experiences. Learning e-commerce back in the early 2000s was like a really important thing to do because e-commerce was exploding. And
yes,
and then from there, ultimately became a CEO of an audio technology company that I sold, and then now CEO and president over here at 1105. But I frequently ask myself the question, had I not gone to the job in South Dakota, would I be sitting here today? I have enough confidence in myself to think that I probably would be sitting here, but maybe it would have been a lot harder to get there, right? And so, but that was my start. And I built teams all over the world. And one of my biggest claim to fame is that when I was the president of that e-commerce company, we got the award for the best place to work. So
Wow.
that was really exciting.
Yeah.
That's a little bit about my journey.
Yeah. What an amazing journey. I love that you said you went to go find the job. And I don't know of many people that would, and this is no knock on South Dakota. I've never been there, but I'm sure it's lovely there. But oh my gosh, I've been to Southern California, right? And to go from there to there, and get that experience is priceless. But that's a mentality I would think, Rajiv, right? To have to say, hey, I'm gonna go out and get it no matter where it takes me at this moment. I love that. I want to talk first about workplace culture, because I'm so glad you ended with your journey saying you won, the best place to work. And it sounds like that's one of your best achievements. And I think that's awesome. How would you first define what a really good workplace culture is these days?
Look, I think first of all, I want to be clear here, right? Like what works for my company may not work for other companies,
Hmm.
right? I,
Hmm.
I what I found, right, when I wrote the book in Deloitte, the big consulting firm Deloitte, they had done a giant survey with a bunch of CEOs. They went out there to all these, leaders of companies, and they said, "How many of you think workplace culture is important?" And 90% said very important. And then it said, "How many of you actually are doing something about it?" And only 10% said they're doing something about it. And I think a lot of times CEOs and leaders look at workplace culture as a benefit, which it is, but I think they also maybe potentially look at it as an expense.
Hmm.
And I don't look at workplace culture as an expense. As a matter of fact, I look at workplace culture as a way to enhance my business,
Hmm.
to grow my business, to build the bottom line. And the reason why is because if I can keep my attrition rates low, I'm not having brain drain when somebody leaves. I'm not having to play catch up. There's less stress on the system, all those different kinds of things, right? We can take care of the customer better. And to me, that's what's really important. As a matter of fact, if you look at my business right now, and after we're done, I have my whole leadership team waiting for me, and we're having a little mini offsite. And I'm going to tell them I got the results back from my HR department. In the last 12 months, we've only had one employee that has proactively quit the company in
Wow.
12 months. Only
Wow.
one. And that person wants to come back.
Wow.
And I think the reason why is a couple of things. Number one is we made a real conscious decision a few years ago, or rather I did, that no matter what happens, my internal employees are always going to be my first customers.
Hmm.
That's number one.
Right.
Because the more I can focus on my internal employees, build a great place to work, allow for flexibility, all the things that they need, give them the right tools to do their job, get out of their way, listen to them, have a lot of empathy, have a lot of gratitude, do the recognition stuff, all those things, the more they're going to take care of the external customer,
Yes.
right? The more I'm going to retain them, the more they're going to understand that what I provide them, I don't pay the most, I don't pay the least, right? There's things that we could be doing better in my company. There's things, that we do really well in my company. Like we're not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't probably be having this conversation, right?
Right.
So, so we have our challenges, but we try every day. We make it a conscious decision every day to do everything we can to build a great culture here. And so the fact that we have made a conscious decision to make our employees our most important customer was the best decision we made and the best decision anybody can make to start building a great culture.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you said all that, because I heard you talk about that on a podcast, and um, for me listening to you, it sounded so sincere where you call them internal customers, and I love that. What are some specific things, and your team has got to be really proud of that, once you give that news to them today. What are a couple of specific things, Rajiv, that you can give, especially new leaders out there, that you've done that has really helped? Because one person that left in the last year in any industry these days, but especially a lot of the industries I support, right? Retail, restaurants, things like. I mean, people would kill to lower their churn like that. what's a couple of real specific things that you and your team does every day?
Well, look, number one is we really lead from a place of gratitude every day. We try to do little mini recognitions every day. We do a large recognition event every 90 days across the entire company. We offer a lot of flexibility in our work. So, for example, if you look at my business, my business is very anti what the establishment wants to do today, right? You hear a lot of what CEOs say are saying you have to come back into an office. I'm a little bit of the opposite. Well, in fact, I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Of my roughly 140 employees, almost all of them are remote.
Hmm.
And I have a handful of employees, mostly in the finance department, that really like to get together. And so I have an office up in North Los Angeles where they kind of get together. Now, I sit in an office. I'm in like a little WeWork kind of a place, just because I've got a house full of people and the dog and everything like that. And so it gets hard
Right.
for me to work. So
Right.
So for me, me personally, I like to escape, come here, do my work. I can go for walks. I can do my calls. So to me, this doesn't even feel like an office. This just feels like an extension of my house. I don't have an office at home anymore. So this becomes my office at home, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we are very flexible. We have this attitude in the organization. And I know this is a little bit different than some of your audience because of what you told me what your audience makes up. But for me, if the job gets done at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m., do I really care as long as the job is getting done, as long as the customers are happy? So we offer a lot of flexibility here at 1105, right? We do everything we can to make sure we check in every 2 weeks to make sure, does everybody have the tools they need to be successful? Right now, for example, we've done probably close to 600 man hours of training on artificial intelligence to our employees.
Oh, wow.
How to use ChatGPT, how to use all these tools
Yes.
for work, how to use all these tools to better whatever, email newsletters or social media posts or SEO, whatever it might be. So we're doing those things. We're trying to, we are always constantly improving, trying to find ways to improve our health benefits, our other ancillary benefits, whether it's 401k matches or whatever the case might be. I'll give you a small example. I'll give you a couple examples. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, my father-in-law passed away. And, I remember I checked our bereavement policy is only 3 days. And I'm like, who can do anything in 3 days?
Yes.
Right. And you can't do anything in 3 days.
Yeah.
When you lose a loved one. And so I changed it to 10 days, basically. Right. Yeah. And so I wanted to make sure my employees knew that they had the time to take care of what they needed to take care of.
Yes.
Another example of that is, when the whole George Floyd situation happened, I felt like I needed to do something. And I knew that statistically, no matter what I did, 40% of the employees probably wouldn't be very happy with me, right? Just from a statistic, just from a pure stats perspective. So I wanted to do something where I knew that I could, they tell you don't try to please everybody, but in this case, I wanted to find a way to please everybody. So what I decided to do was now in my company, we give every November 7th or 8th, depending on what day it is, the day off to go vote. If you're not happy with what's out there, then go vote. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, if you're not happy, go vote. Yeah. That's the best thing I can do, is to allow you to feel like you're part of your community.
No doubt.
And so that's what we did. That was my response. And that's been a home run. And people love it. People love the fact that they can go vote. People love the fact that people say to me, skeptics say to me, well, Rajeev, they're going to vote by mail. Well, fine. They're welcome to vote by mail. I encourage them to then just go be a poll worker, go get involved in their community on that day, make that a community day.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do that, then just take that as a mental wellness day. That's fine.
Yeah.
So the point of it is that I'm giving them the day. I'm taking 8 hours and I'm saying, here, I'm giving this to you. That's my gift to you. Go use it, go get involved. And you cannot look at the business anymore to say, my company makes it too hard for me to get involved, because I'm giving you a day to go get involved.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of small examples.
That's awesome. I love all of that. And have you found it? Because at the beginning, it is the opposite. There's a lot of companies that say, hey, come back to the office or anything like that. Have you found that to be such a really huge benefit, that you're giving people this type of flexibility? And have you been able to maintain, obviously you have, but how have you been able to maintain that culture with a mostly remote workforce?
Before COVID, about 35% of the company was already remote, right? And so we already kind of had a little bit of
Right.
a culture of that already. And so, for us, it's the frequent check-ins. Like, we don't do any of the nonsense some of these other companies do, like turn on your cameras and, we're going to log your keyboard or whatever. We don't do any of that crap.
Right. Right.
What we do though is we definitely have KPIs for everybody. We have, we measure things. We hold people accountable, because if you want that flexibility, you want that trust, then I'm going to hold you accountable.
Mhm.
Right. And so for us, it's been the fact that we have the metrics in place. We have the means to check in with people. I'll tell you, we love using Microsoft Teams to do those kinds of things.
Yes.
We have the group conversations. I have an amazing management team. I spent a lot of time building this management team. I think they're the best. I think all those things combined have allowed this to be the case. And so we've had some really good growth the last few years. This year's a little challenge. If you look at my business, we're very tech oriented, right? We do B2B marketing and media for the tech space.
Hmm.
The tech space right now is challenged. All of the vast majority of our customers, are laying people off, right?
Yeah.
So, spending now, and when interest rates go up, spending in our world kind of slows down a little bit, right? So it's fine. We had a really good run for a few years. Now we're just slightly challenged, and then we'll regroup here. Budget season's coming up, and we'll regroup and we will retool, and then we'll go another year, and so we'll see how that one goes, and then we'll retool there.
Hmm.
So we're constantly iterating. We're constantly thinking new things, how to grow, new ideas. We are nothing if not trying to be innovative, on a regular basis.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love the I think I read an article recently where someone got fired because she didn't have any strokes on her keyboard or something like that. And maybe she wasn't, actually working, but you said it. You said, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to check any of that. Just going to hold you to the KPIs," and that's it. I love that. I want to really come back to something you said. And obviously your team has been nailing this when you talked about gratitude, but I saw you talk about that could be difficult for some leaders because it is an emotion. So let's talk a little bit about some real specific leadership skills and the future of leadership, because you talk a lot about it, but let's start there at gratitude. Why is that difficult sometimes for leaders to show, or for leaders to show emotion?
Because I think they grew up in a world where they didn't get a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
the idea of gratitude, and when people hear the word gratitude, I think they think big, grandiose gestures. And that's not what I'm talking about here, right? To me, it's respect. To me, it's acknowledging someone who did a good job. To me, it's small little things, a couple of medium-sized things, and a couple of big things, right? It's being able to, it's being able to step back, and I am more than secure enough in my skill sets and my confidence and my abilities. I take no credit for anything, right? I will take all the bullets for all the bad stuff. I
Yeah.
will never take any credit for any of the good stuff. And I think that's really hard for people. And I think it's hard for some people who kind of get into those roles. I think it's hard for people who built an organization who have a hard time giving up control, who don't have a hard time trusting people,
Hmm.
who don't like to let people make mistakes.
Hmm.
I let people make mistakes.
Yeah.
I make mistakes,
Hmm.
and we don't get upset with those mistakes. I want to see mistakes. If we're not making mistakes, we're not trying, right? And for me, I look at a mistake as a way to say, okay, I appreciate you, going for A, B, and C. It didn't work. What did we learn from it? How can we try? What can we do differently now going forward?
Hmm.
Well, what's going to be plan B or whatever the case might be? So we build from those types of things.
Hmm.
And I encourage those types of things.
Hmm.
Sometimes, like if one of my I made a mistake the other day where, and I'm not going to get into the details. I saw something happening, and I wasn't fast enough to correct the action, even though I saw it happening, and it happened, and I'm mad. And I got mad at myself because I could have stopped it, and I didn't do it in time. But now it's a learning experience. A learning experience for me, but more importantly, it was a learning experience for the person on the team. Say, okay, well, this is what was happening. This is what I saw. We should have stopped it. We didn't stop it. That's fine. Well, how can we learn? How can we grow from it? How can we become better leaders? How can we be better partners to our employees and to our customers now that it happened?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, gratitude is also just acknowledging sometimes, hey, I made a mistake. It's okay. What did we learn from it? And I really appreciate it. Let's move forward. So it's also, for to me, at the end of the day, gratitude is the foundation. Like if you talk to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
he'll tell you the number one trait that he used to turn Microsoft around was gratitude.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so that I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, no doubt. I love it. Love it. When you look at the future of leadership, what are 2 or 3 must-have skills for leaders as you look down the road of the future of leadership?
I'm going to give you 5.
Okay.
Gratitude, we talked about.
Yes.
Resilience. Resilience is going to be really important. You can call it grit, you can call it whatever you want, but resilience is going to be really important.
Yeah.
A lot of changes coming to the workplace, whether it's through demographic change, generational change, AI, automation change, whatever it might be. There's a lot of change coming to the workplace over the next 2 or 3 years. So you got to be really resilient. Okay, interest rates are up. Whatever the case might be, really, really resilient. Third is you have to have really strong empathy skills.
Mm.
Gone are the days of, only come to the boss if you have 3 solutions. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that nonsense. You know why you're the boss? You're the boss because you have an experience or you have a skill set that people want to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
You might have, if we went through COVID with the attitude of only come to me if you have 3 solutions, guess what? There were no solutions. No one knew.
Solutions.
There's no Harvard case study to read during COVID. There's no mentor to call. We had to figure it out. We had to work together. And sometimes people have blocks. People might have a blinder on. People are stuck. They need help. They just want to talk. Maybe they just want to have a conversation that just might shake an idea loose, or they want to ask me for my thoughts and I can give them my experiences. So I try to lead from experiences. What are my experiences say? So have a lot of empathy. And then the fourth we talked about already is accountability. You can offer all the greatest benefits in the world, but you got to hold people accountable to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then finally is transparency. You got to be really transparent in your communication. Now people say, Rajeev, why not trust? Well, to me, you have to have that transparency before you have that trust. So those are the 5 traits, and it's gratitude, resilience, empathy, accountability, and transparency.
Yeah.
And Kenny, if you take the first letter of those 5 words, what's it spell? Gratitude, resilience, empathy, accountability, transparency.
Great. Yeah.
And that's the title of the book. That's how I got the title of the book.
Yeah. Chasing Greatness. Awesome. I love that. And that is amazing advice, and it's so dead on. So what is this big coming disruption? You said to society as well as to the workplace. What is that all about?
Look, I think there's a perfect storm coming in the next couple of years.
Okay. Talk to us.
Number one is you have a changing workplace demographic, which is just natural change. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Boomers are old and they're retiring and are exiting the workplace in droves.
Yeah.
Gen Xers over the next 10 years will be retiring. And oh, by the way, they're going to be the smallest percentage of the workforce by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
The largest percentage of the workforce is going to be millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha is going to just start entering that kind of the bottom rung of the workforce. But for the first time in that ladder, women will have a slight majority of the demographic in the workplace for the first time ever.
Wow.
And to me, I believe they require a different type of leadership. I believe they require those 5 attributes we talked about. I believe that they require flexibility. And everything is different, right? When I was growing up in the 80s, what did they used to say about art? I mean, I'm going to be 56 here in a few days, and you're a lot younger than me. But when I was growing up in the 80s, they would say, "Oh, we're a bunch of headbangers, and rap music is bad for you, and oh, we're going to fry our brains on cocaine, or whatever." You know what I mean? So there was all this stuff that used to say about us, right?
Yeah.
We're not Generation X, we were D-Generation X, right? Yeah. So we were also ridiculed as a younger generation, right? And so just like this current generation is kind of getting ridiculed for certain things. And so every generation evolves. And so I think the workplace is going to have to evolve because of it. And you just can't stop natural human progress. You just can't do it,
Yeah.
And so there's that, number one. And by the way, there's gonna be a lot more of them than there is gonna be of Gen Xers and Boomers. So
Yeah.
might as well find a way to embrace it. It's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of the storm. And I don't mean that as a negative. I'm just saying it's coming, right? And number two is AI and automation and all these tools are coming, right? We've also already seen some of the things that ChatGPT and some of these things can do. As a matter of fact, I realize you don't know this part, but I wrote a second book and it's releasing on Saturday, and it's called AI Made Simple, and it's on
Oh,
Amazon. It's going to release on Saturday.
this is good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell you, the audience, please go check that out. And it's a beginner's guide to AI. And I wanted to write a book that my mom would kind of understand. And so it's a real beginner's guide to how to use some of these AI tools. And so AI is going to be disruptive, because if you can tell all your employees, hey, if I could give you your own little co-pilot, as Microsoft calls it, if I could give you your own little assistant to help do all the heavy lifting and take that off your plate, will that help you? The answer is going to be yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be some disruption there. There potentially could be some job loss there,
Mm-hmm.
But just like when there was some job loss when the first PCs hit the desk, and when the internet came out, when e-commerce happened, when the mobile revolution happened, when the search revolution happened, when the social media revolution happened, some people lost their jobs, but they got trained into new things. We haven't looked at even the tip of the iceberg yet in terms of all the new companies and all the new opportunities that are going to come coming down the road thanks to AI. Right now, there are over 8,000 AI startups in the world today.
Yes.
That's going to keep growing. And over 55% of those startups are here in the US. So the US continues to lead the way. So that's going to be a huge opportunity for growth for people, right? And then the third thing I think is that you have vast globalization, and you have some polarization that are also in the workforce. And so it's going to be all those things kind of happening at once. And so, it's going to be really important for that leader, whoever he or she or they may be, to really step up and to figure out how to handle and take care of those, how to deal with those three areas as they converge. And I think those 5 attributes that we talked about a few minutes ago are going to be the key driver foundation to handle that type of disruption in the workplace.
No doubt. No doubt. And we need all 5 of those to work together. And if you struggle with change, leaders, get out now, because I agree. There's some big changes coming. Rajeev, this has been amazing. You've given some just fantastic advice, and it is just so relevant for right now, so timely. But speaking of timely, I want to now give however long you need to talk about your book coming out tomorrow. I'm so happy. This is awesome. Talk about this and your other book, and where folks can get those at.
Well, thank you, Kenny. I mean, look, both books are available on Amazon. The new book coming out tomorrow is called AI Made Simple: A Beginner's Guide to Generative Intelligence. And like I said, it's an entry level. I couldn't call it AI for dummies for obvious reasons. So it's a very entry level type of book into the world of AI.
I need
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and if you're not familiar with it, if
Yeah.
you're looking for a really easy way to embrace and get into the space, check it out. I think you'll like it. And there's a special Kindle launch promotion right now for like $1 for the book. So
Mm-hmm.
this is not a money making thing; it's more of an awareness building thing. So check that
Yeah.
out. That
Yeah.
price will go up here in about a week or so. But so there's that, and then so that's that, and then the other book, the first book, Chase Greatness. That book has been out now for about a little over a year and a half. It hit the bestseller levels twice, which was really exciting. Again, when it launched, went like that, hit bestseller, came down a little bit, and then over Christmas and the holidays last year, it went back up to bestseller because I found people were giving it as gifts
Oh, wow.
to people
Okay.
to people in the
Awesome.
organization, to their kids, whatever the case might be. So it went back up again. So yeah, it's also a good book. It talks about the things that we just talked about here, and
Awesome.
I've written both of them myself, and hopefully people like them, and hopefully they add value and to your audience, and
Yes.
and I hope I hope people really find, understand and embrace where I'm coming from.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I'm certainly going to order mine as soon as we're done. And now I know tomorrow I go in and order the other one. How else can people connect with you, Rajeev? Is there a website that people can go on, or how can
Yeah, I
people
mean,
connect with you?
you can go to rajivkapur.com. You can
Okay.
go to 1105 Media. You'll see my information there.com. You can go to LinkedIn and find me on LinkedIn. The only thing on LinkedIn is that Rajeev Kapur in India is like Steve Smith.
That was there's quite a few,
So
yes.
yeah, so there's
Yes,
quite a
there's
few of
quite a
them.
few.
So I'm sure if you find Rajeev Kapur 1105 Media or whatever, I think you'll find me, or you see my picture, and I think I'm better looking than the other Rajeev Kapur. So
Yeah.
you'll-
Let me throw this in there because you're a little modest. On your website, so I'll say on his website, guys, and I'll make sure that's in the notes. There's not good videos that you put together. There's great videos that you put together. None of them are crazy long. There's some podcasts that are on there as well. But I was really loving the ones where you were talking, yourself, and you're really just giving this great advice. And so, leaders, you go on that website, you'll see all of his stuff right there. That's just really dead on. And thank you for doing all that. You're such a great leader who is now sharing, all of this wisdom and this experience with the rest of the world. And it is so appreciated. I can't thank you enough for spending time with me today. I know how busy you are. I know you've got a big meeting and you can't wait to deliver this news to your team. So good luck with that. But thank you again so much for coming on. This has been amazing.
Thank you, my friend. My pleasure. Good luck to you and audience. I hope you guys got value and wish you all the best.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, folks, I'm going to leave it there. This has been Kenny and Rajeev. This has been the Leading from the Middle podcast. We'll talk to you real soon.